Today, I'm heading to Singapore's countryside to lunch with a pioneer of ASEAN capital markets and co-founder of one of the leading private equity firms in the region. I've heard the firm is taking an unusual approach to impact investing, so I can't wait to hear more. I've traded global financial markets and advised some of Asia's wealthiest for more than 20 years. Yet, I'm constantly in search of new perspectives on finance, business, and of course, life. So I booked tables and put wine on my tab just to bring you some food for thought. Lunch today is in a rustic bistro located within an organic farm, and the CEO of TAEL Partners, Michael Sung, is my guest. With almost 40 years of hands-on experience with businesses in Southeast Asia, Michael is a valued advisor, financier, and investor who's involved with the boards of companies in at least 5 different countries.
I started off my career working in Schroders. Schroders was the first investment bank in Singapore. And as an investment bank, we don't have a lot of money unlike the American investment bank. So we gain our credibility by the quality of service and quality of advice that we give to the entrepreneurs. How do they take advantage of mega trends in the market? What professionals do they bring in? How they can derive the maximum results from their business. So we built a very strong network of entrepreneurs in the region, and we find that it is better to put our money where our mouth is. In vending this advice to you, I'm prepared to back it up with my commitment by investing in their business itself.
With 2 co-founders, Michael formed TAEL Partners in 2007. TAEL is one of the first homegrown private equity firms in Singapore and the first to focus on investing extensively in Southeast Asia. In 7 short years, they fundraised over $1 billion to invest in 56 businesses across the region.
The next transformation that TAEL Partner is going through is moving into a different space, right? Looking at how you want to contribute more to society. What prompted you to have that mindset shift?
Maybe I can relate to you a very personal experience, right?
Yes.
We invested in a company in the Philippines. So in one of my dialogue with the business owner, I asked him, hey, what would you like to have if our investment is successful? He said, I'd like to buy a new Porsche. On the same trip, I went to Maruduke, and I could see the big contrast, and there are people in Maruduke have very little to live for. I remember this one particular farmer. I was just asking him in my conversation with him, hey, what will your kids be doing? Oh, then he says that they'll probably be farmers like me, right, living off the land itself. Like then it occurred to me, unless his circumstances change, right, the kids will be exactly in the same position that he has been, and the very same position that his father was in. Right? So how do I go about changing that?
How do you break this cycle?
Yeah,
right?
break this cycle of poverty. Right? How do we then be a game changer? I obviously know that I cannot change the entire agriculture population in the Philippines or anywhere. And I have invested in a lot of agriculture companies. Right? For one example, I invested in a tea plantation in Vietnam. They also have something like 30,000 cows. It produces a lot of cow manure. Right? I tell him, hey, what do you do with the cow manure? He said, we just dump it to the field next door. I said, excuse me, what are you doing? The field next door.
It's a waste.
But when it rains, it pollutes the water will flow down the stream, and then the villagers below get. So I said, no, why don't we use the cow manure, right, into compost so we can give it to the farmers for their fertilizer in the field? And then he asked me how much it costs, so I worked out the sums. And he said, yeah, but it will affect my profit. Right? And you are a share of my company, right? Would you want your profit to be reduced by X dollars, right?
That's a tough choice for an
It's a tough
entrepreneur.
choice,
Yes.
right? But what do we do? It's a listed company itself, it's profit-driven. This is very good ESG story, but it doesn't add to the bottom line. It subtract from the bottom line, right? So in a sense itself, we realize that to be a game changer, to make the difference, you must start with the lower denominator and then build it up from there. So when we go out to the farm, we look at who are the beneficiaries of this investment that we are doing. Is it the entrepreneurs? Is it ordinary farmers? And how do we change their life?
We live in Singapore, we tend to forget that the poorest of the poor actually live in Southeast Asia. So how do you think you guys can make a direct impact?
I think it all stems from the fact that labor is mispriced. Agriculture produce is mispriced.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
Because of that, by the price taker. And they spend the whole entire day plowing the fields like this. And what do they get in return? As opposed to many of us who sit in the aircon office, their monthly salary is probably out there. The market eventually will correct it, but it's going to happen very slowly.
So you're saying that we need intervention?
We need fair pricing.
Okay.
We need to give the farmers what they rightfully deserve. Because if you think about it, the heart of the country would be in the rural economy, right? Because the countries and the whole world, for that matter, depends on the source of food. So what we're trying to do is to have some alignment of the value that they contribute, right? It's a very long journey. It's a very difficult journey. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So we are making a single step.
In 2019, Michael began investing the firm's own capital into impact projects as a proof of concept. Having found success in their business model, they plan to launch an impact fund this year to invest up to $50 million in 6 regional projects over 3 to 5 years.
Why do you choose impact investing as a way forward versus, just setting up an ESG fund, right? Which is all the rage these days.
In fact, our funds are ESG compliant. But number one headline of objective is to generate the best profit, make the entrepreneur richer, give a decent return to our investors as well. So that's where we find that impact investing changed the dimension of how we look at the investment. We look at the investment from the triple bottom line. What are the triple bottom line is obviously profit, because it enables the company or the investment that we make to be sustainable. Number two, people is the people that matters in terms of what we want to do, and obviously the planet. Essentially, what we feel is that the realm of investment has gone beyond just for profit. Profit in itself is not sustainable, because to make profit, you soak up the people that work on the ground, Mother Nature, to extract the best value. We really want to make an investment where the triple bottom becomes part of the KPI or the target that we set.
Chef is harvesting some fresh ingredients to personally prepare our private farm-to-table dining experience, where she showcases fresh farm ingredients with a wholesome and hearty Motsin style.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to Bollywood Farms and the
you.
Chef's Table. My name is Lynn, also known as the Little Scorpion.
Oh, hi.
I hope you brought your appetite today.
Oh, look who's here.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a
Yeah.
guest.
We have a guest.
Extra guest. First up, we have a refreshing lime soda. And this is a pulled mocha and Kahlua chicken wrapped in a prata taco. Please enjoy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. So maybe we should move her off the table.
Good girl.
I think one of the first projects you have done on impact investing is in Timor-Leste, looking at some of the coffee plantations there.
You know, the coffee trees that they have in Timor-Leste are among the best in the world, right? Unknown, undiscovered, and hence the opportunity. For a very long time, Timor-Leste coffee was sold as commodity. 1 metric ton of coffee, which we buy from the farmers, is about $2,800. And 1 metric ton of coffee, depending on how skillful you are as a barista, can produce anything from 50 to 80,000 cups of coffee itself. And you can do the maths, right? The price is hugely disproportionate to what the farmers get. And go back to the same point they have is that labor is underpriced, right? We cannot force the traders to buy at higher price. I mean, it's willing buyer, willing seller is a free market. But what we can do is to help them improve both in terms of quality and in terms of output, the yield. About 1/3 of the population in Timor-Leste depend on coffee trees for their source of survival. But if the trees are left to the wild, it's not properly pruned and fertilized, the yield from the coffee is about 1/10 of what the farmers in Brazil are getting. And in particular, the coffee plantation that we are involved in, the yield is lower than what the country can produce. It is always said that you can throw money at the problem to solve the problem, but it's not the case in Timor-Leste. If you were to give them money, but it will just be spent, the problem will repeat the next year.
So what is the magic formula though? 20 years ago, they were also caught up in a poverty cycle. So why do you think the capital that you're providing today would make a bigger difference?
Our objective is to how do we improve their productivity, how do we improve the efficiency of the farmers itself, with the end goal of they getting a higher return for the sweat labor that they have. If we have a chance to more than triple the yield, the livelihood of the farmers can be increased.
Pulled coffee and chicken prata taco. Very
One
much
of my
in
favorite
theme.
ingredients.
Cheers.
Yes. Very good.
It is.
By improving farm processes, Michael plans to triple the yield and produce higher quality coffee beans, while employing his triple bottom approach to build a sustainable ecosystem for the village.
The farmers need to be educated on what technology they can apply, how do they harness the best yield given the soil conditions. So we bring in experts. We will give them intermediate technology, shredders, plows. Recently, we bought 2 color sorters. Traditionally, we engage 40 people to sort the beans out. It's a very
Just
tedious
counting the
affair.
beans, look
To
at the
sort out,
beans,
okay, this
okay.
is good quality, this is not so good quality, sort it out, right? 1 ton of beans can take a month to sort it out. But we can do it in a day if we have a color sorter. Then we can deploy the farmers for more productive use in the field. More importantly, the farmers can get the best price for the beans, which is probably sorted. So slowly improving the yield that they will have, not just on coffee itself, but also on other intercropping. Kojak is a form of starch that is very popular in North Asia. We intend for them to plant kojak in between the coffee trees as a supplementary source of income in between harvest. And the third that we intend to do is we intend to start a farm school to teach the villagers proper techniques of farming.
If I'm putting on my finance hat, there has to be a balance, right, between the purpose and also profits. It may not be a typical PE, private equity or venture cap return of double-digit IRRs, but it also cannot be a zero IRR. So the question is, where do you aim to target your returns?
First and foremost, we're not a charity.
Very
Right?
important. Yes.
That's very important, right? Because a charity implies that you give X dollars to whoever is deserving. Next year, you have to give X or even a larger amount. So it's a continuous commitment that you give over the years, but it's not sustainable. We need to quantify the efforts and the outcome. Right? Quantifying the outcome impose a discipline on us, but also on our partners in the respective countries. So in our triple bottom line, we have people decide what we measure is before we make an investment, what was the farmers getting? As a result of us making the investment, helping them to improve the yield on the ground, paying them fair prices for their produce, what would the income which they are getting? So all this we quantify, and we know that their income has changed from X to Y over the year and over the 5-year period. The difficult part is that we talk about going into planet. One source of income is to cut firewood. But if there are other sources of income that we are giving them, there's no need for them to chop trees. Then it's more qualitative rather than quantitative criteria we use.
How about the other P, the last P, profits?
Actually, people always ask me the question, impact investment presupposes that there is little profit. brand, that is a very big misconception. Why? Largely because farmers, as we talk about, are price takers. When they produce their beans, they put their beans on the side of the road waiting for buyers to come. The buyers will transport it to town, they sell to wholesaler. The wholesaler will then sell it to an international trader, then to the ultimate buyer. So this intermediate, the middleman, you easily save 20-30%, even more.
On top of cost savings, Michael estimates he can raise the value of the coffee significantly by branding it as a specialty coffee that's organic, fair trade, and planet friendly. The estimated return on investment is 2 times per dollar invested, while the estimated social return on investment is 2.31 times per dollar invested. More importantly, Michael and his team are leveraging the private equity know-how to find new ways of improving an ecosystem that benefits the community for generations.
Hi, hope you
Hi.
enjoyed your first course.
Yes.
So in front of you, we have a grilled barramundi wrapped in turmeric leaves, and it's topped with grated coconut, cashew, and turmeric spiced crumb. We have a nasi ulam, which is a very classic Peranakan and Malay dish. All the herbs and spices are freshly harvested this morning.
Thank
Enjoy.
you. Looking forward to this.
Yeah.
The fish is really nice. There are so many villages, each with different geographies, different crops. So how do you make your selection from there?
So that goes back to the operative work that we have, sustainability. For it to be sustainable, it must have certain value in what they produce. Is it a cash crop? Is it has a premium pricing? If they produce something that no one buys, right? No matter how much technology that we put in, how much entrepreneurship that we put in, it ain't going to work.
But when you say sustainable, right, how concerned are you with climate change?
I think it's a very good question and very important risk that is very difficult to mitigate. The lower the technology is of that farm or the country, the more drastic the impact on climate change will be for them. And I think that is where addressing the climate change becomes critical. Consumer may not see the outcome so readily. The first port of call would be the farmers. If we don't help the farmers, they would have gone bankrupt, for example, and they will not be able to survive. Inevitably, if the yield drops, there's a scarcity, world population goes up, world food consumption goes up, the prices naturally have to follow suit. So there would be a compensating factor, but it happens down the road.
The big issues that we're facing in Asia, how to reduce poverty, education, bringing financial access to the masses, is probably in the realm of policymakers and governments. Is private capital enough to move the needle?
The basic role of government is to tax the rich and use the taxpayers' money to subsidize social spending for the poor. But then you look at more recently, what happens? The rich have found tax haven. They have very expertly manipulated transfer pricing.
Yes.
So much so they don't pay the kind of taxes that they ought to. So then more recently, China came out with the concept of common prosperity. So I was very interested. So I looked at it, I read about it. Actually, common prosperity is not new. Mao Zedong actually started common prosperity back in the days where China became communist, right? But in that situation itself, there are very little to
Redistribute.
right? But now it's a different ball game altogether. And I think that is a very wise move. If not, it may be a basis for social unrest, where disparity becomes so evident that people will say, why am I having to work so hard when I'm not getting the fruits of my effort? And I think that if more and more corporations could set aside X% of their profit, for social causes, that would be a right direction to take.
Quite interesting times, right? I think China is really pioneering this third wave, right, of
right.
distribution of wealth.
Then again, is a key issue is where does the money go to? The money ought to go to the people who need most, who benefit most. So in the sense itself, the distribution of money becomes critical. And this way, I think the private sector comes in.
Yes.
For us itself, for private sector, when they do invest, be it a pure profit motive, triple bottom approach, there is a sense of accountability that money will be put to better use.
Michael and his team have made additional investments into urban sustainability projects, such as a waste-to-energy plant in Thailand and a food waste processing company in Singapore. They are also managing other agri-impact projects, producing organic turmeric in the Philippines and organic rice in Thailand.
Final course for a sweet ending, a lightly scented pandan creme brulee. Please enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What is the next few projects you're very excited about?
East Malaysia hasn't had the benefit of economic growth as West Malaysia had. At some point in time, we want to explore the possibility. We have been asked to look at something in Bangladesh. I mean, think about Bangladesh, they are a very large population, right? They have refugees problem to deal with. And something native to land is jute, which can be used for many purposes, even disposable wares. But that's a very interesting idea. So I mean, it is not a one-way street. Please believe me, it's not a one-way street. They are helping me as much as I'm helping them because they are giving me a sense of purpose in life. With all the wealth in the world, it is a shame for people to have to struggle in their own country or in their own community, in their own village, when it takes so little to live their life. So it goes back to where we are now in TAEL Partners, right? So we know that we have raised $1 billion fund, right? Do I want to do another $1 billion fund? Maybe not. Right? Do I want to make rich people richer? Maybe not. Right? But do I want to change the life of the poor? Yes, the answer is yes. So I like to joke, this is our ticket to heaven.
To hear more about how Michael built a sustainable farm ecosystem from the ground up and get tips on mitigating risk and impact investments, tune into the Lunch with Masters of Finance podcast on channelnewsasia.com/listen. See you next week for lunch.